Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica. Today we are making block number 5 in our 2023 Sew With Me series. So if you have missed the beginning of this series, make sure to go back and check out the video for block number 1. It has all of the information and details for this entire sew along. So go back and check that out. But today we're just going to dive right in and take a look at block number 5. So here is my 6.5 inch Christmassy version of block number 5. This is kind of a plaid or gingham type block. It's actually one of my favorites and it's so easy to put together. And actually I really want to do an entire quilt in this block because I think it would be so much fun. And if you do your fabric placement correctly, you would have a really cute plaid quilt when you're done. So here is the Christmas block and here is my 12.5 inch red and white block. There's a lot of flexibility with fabric placement on this block as well. You could totally change the look of it simply by changing out these corner pieces to your background or rotating these side blocks or even rotating these corner units. So we're gonna have a lot of fun today. I'm going to show you again, we did this in a previous video, but I am gonna show you how to spin your corner seams right there where you have 4 corner points coming together. It's a really neat technique and it makes for really nice flat and accurate blocks. So let's go ahead and dive right into today's tutorial. So this is what block number 5 looks like. And of course you can have a ton of fun with the colors on this block. Here obviously is my Christmas 6-inch block. So super cute. I'm going to set that block aside. Don't forget to download your pattern. There will be a link below on where you can get that. I'm going to set that aside and we're going to go ahead and get started sewing. I did want to feature a product because we're a few videos in now and I don't think I've mentioned my alpha biddies, but those are these little labels that I have labeling all of my fabrics. These are great because it keeps all your fabrics organized so you don't get them mixed up, especially if you have some that are very similar in size. And you can get these at Fat Quarter Shop. I just keep them in this cute little jar. I also got this jar at Fat Quarter Shop. And so I just wanted to show you guys that today in case you were curious. So here's all my fabrics, A, B, C, D, E, and F. All the cutting instructions are in that PDF download, so make sure you download that. All that information will be there. I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside. Of course, you're gonna just need your basics. I've got my rotary trimmer, my rulers. I always have a pin, my seam ripper. I'm again gonna recommend diagonal seam tape. And then I like to have a pin bowl and a little scissor handy just in case. And we're gonna grab our C, A, and D squares. And we're gonna be making 4 units that look identical, and these are going to be our corner units. So I'm just going to split up my C's. So I have 4 here and 4 here. I've got 4 A's and 4 D's. And we're just going to sew these top squares together, the bottom squares together, and then we'll sew them together this way. We're going to twist or spin our seams on this point right here where they come together. We did that in our last video. If you missed it, you can watch it, but we'll do it again here because I think it makes a really nice join where these 4 points come together. So I'm actually just going to take all of these over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew them, chain piece them all together. So I just have them sitting here, and maybe what'll make more sense for you guys is if you can see it all. So here's one, and I'm just going to sew these together and just chain piece. All right, so here are my 4 different units, and I just cut them apart, but I left these ones attached just so they stay together in an order. And in order to spin your seams, you have to have your seams nesting, your first seams nesting. So that means we're gonna press towards this kind of gingham-y looking fabric. So we're gonna press this way on the bottom and this way on the top. The other thing that does is allows us to press away from our lighter fabric. All right, so let's get those out of the way. So now we have our 4 corner units that are gonna all be identical. And now we're going to just flip this top one down on the bottom. We're going to nest that seam, and I'll show it up close there. You can see the seams are going in opposite directions, and you just can snug them right up next to each other. And whenever I'm nesting seams like that, I do like to just stick a pin in there so it holds it in place. And we'll just do that for all of them. And when you're folding this over, you'll really be able to feel that. It almost like snaps into place. So I just put it on there and then just kind of push it until you feel them touching. Okay, now we can take these over to our sewing machine and we can sew right down this edge using our 1/4 inch seam. And here they are. Again, trim, trim, trim. And I'm just gonna set these seams really quick because now we're gonna do what's called spinning our seams. Okay, so here's what our block looks like. We have this stitch line right here. And you can pick these out, or really you can usually just kind of tear them with your finger, but you're just gonna get rid of these little stitches right here. And some of them, you don't even need to do this. Some you can just kind of pull or tug a little bit with your fingers, but I like to be a little more precise. So these stitches right here that are in our seam allowance, we're just gonna pick those out. And what we're gonna do by doing that is just release these little pieces so they can flop whichever way we need them to. You don't want to pick past your stitch line, just pick down to your stitch line. And then the remaining stitches will stay intact. So we're gonna push these open, just like this. And now we're gonna be following our seams, and they either need to be going counterclockwise or clockwise. It doesn't actually matter. Since these ones are already going counterclockwise, we're just gonna follow with that. So this one is going counterclockwise. That means this one's gonna go this way, this one's gonna go this way, and this one is gonna go up. And really all you have to do is just press with your fingers in that direction, and you'll see that you get that mini little spun center. What you're doing there is just distributing all of the bulk from your block so that it's not so much in one place. If we were to just press this block towards the dark like this, if you were to press to the dark just like this, you'll see that right here in this spot right here, you have 5 layers of fabric. You've got the 2 from your first seam, you've got the 2 from this second seam, and then you have your original fabric. So that's a lot of bulk right there on that. So when you do this method, you're actually distributing that bulk all the way around that seam, and you'll end up with flatter seams. Here it is up close. You can see that you've got this nice 4-patch unit right here in the center. It's like a little mini 4-patch. All your seams are going the same way, either counterclockwise or clockwise. And then when you flip it over, you've got amazing, beautiful points. And this seam right here is nice and flat, and you don't have all of that bulk that you would have had you pressed them all to one side. All right, so here we have 4 of our corner units, all the same. And then we do need to trim these up just to make sure they're accurate. We do need to just square these up to 4.5. They should be pretty good. Pretty accurate. I mean, there's just a teeny tiny amount. I do still square up my blocks though as I go. And if nothing else, doing that gets rid of any of these little threads, especially when you're working on a red and white quilt. It's nice not to have little threads coming off the side. Okay, so we can now set these aside. And now we need to work on our center units. So we're gonna grab our B and our E strips, and we're simply going to sew our B strips to our E strips. I'm gonna press towards the red. And something we wanna consider, I pressed this way on these blocks, and these are gonna go next to them like this. So I'm gonna press towards the red so that these seams are going in opposite directions. So pressing towards your dark fabric. And if you want, where these come together right here, you can spin those seams if you want as well. But let's go ahead and take these to our machine and get these sewn up. And here they are. We just need to trim them apart and press. And now we can get our F center square, and we can start laying our block out. So our block is going to be put together like this. We're just going to turn these corner units just like that. And then these side units are going to go in like this. And just for fun, I just want to show you, you can turn these side units out like that, whole new block. You can turn the corner units around, whole new block, and you can replace these, like I said, with white, so you almost have like a bit of an Irish chain coming into your block. So there's a lot of different things you can do just with your fabric placement and having fun. And you could even make your center block white as well, and that would be really cute too. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and sew them together by rows, and then we'll sew the rows together. Where these match, you'll find that one of the sides will nest. This other side is actually going to overlap because we spun these seams. So you might also choose to press these side seams open. It's totally up to you. I think I am gonna go ahead and do that just so that this block lies a little bit nicer. And when I press open, I press to one side, so that's already done. And then I go back through and press to the second side. And a lot of times when I'm pressing my seams open, I will use a tailor's clapper. This is a really fun one. This is from Modern American Vintage. He actually makes really cool handmade wooden tools. They all have a variety of different woods, so they're all really cool looking. He has these. He has seam rippers, seam rollers, harrow markers, point turners, and I'm sure a million other things. So I'm going to chain piece, so I'm just going to flip those just right over like that. I will take a pin and just pin at this intersection to make sure that they're staying, that I have nice clean points right there. And if you want, you can just throw a pin in this as well. And then we're just going to take this to the sewing machine and sew down this side, and then we'll come back and add this side. All right, here we are. We've got all 3 rows sewn together, and then we just need to press them and sew together. So at this point, you can just decide which way you want to press your seams. You could also press open as well. I think for this block, because these are pretty straight seams and not a whole lot going on, I'm actually going to choose to press towards the center on these outside ones, because I had pressed those open. That's pretty flat, and then I can press out on this center row. So that's what I'm going to go with. You can do whichever you prefer. Now, because I pressed open here, I can't spin these seams, so just something to keep in mind. So now I'm grabbing my pins, and I'm just going to pin at these junctions. So wherever I have seams that need to line up, I'm going to go ahead and stick a pin. And so we'll take this to our machine and sew right along here, and then we'll come back and add our bottom. And here is our finished plaid-ish block. And then here is my cute little Christmas version. Now I did decide to spin whatever seams I could. So I did these 4 corners and these 4 corners. And then on this one I didn't. I pressed all one direction on this, and you can see there's quite a bit more bulk at all of these seams than on this one. Just something to take in mind whenever you see the opportunity to spin a seam. It's really easy to do, and it creates nice flat joins. That is going to be it for block number 5. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you're sewing along with us, make sure to share your progress using hashtag 2023 Sew With Me so that we can see what you're making and all of your fun color combos. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next month for block number 6.